Mara Ellison paused at the boundary where the wild, tangled embrace of the ancient forest met the fading light of day. The sky above was a bruised shade of purple and charcoal, the sun dipping low, casting elongated shadows that stretched like fingers across the undergrowth. She took a deep breath, the crisp air carrying the faint, almost imperceptible scent of moss and decay, mingled with an earthy sweetness that seemed to seep from the soil itself. The trees towered above her, gnarled sentinels with bark rough and cracked, their branches weaving together to form a dense canopy that swallowed the sky. A cool breeze stirred the leaves, and with it came whispers, susurrus of voices that teased the edges of her hearing, words she could not quite catch but that felt laden with meaning. Mara's sharp eyes scanned the darkening wood, catching glimpses of movement, a shadow flickering between trunks, a flash of something pale and shifting in the periphery. She felt a shiver trace the line of her spine, a mix of dread and fascination tightening her chest. She knelt down, brushing her fingers over the soft earth at her feet. The ground was damp, rich with the decay of centuries. Her mind flickered with memory snatches of times long past when she had stood here before, though the details were hazy, like looking through frosted glass. There was the time she'd traced the winding brook deeper into the woods, the campfire night when laughter had echoed beneath these very trees, the cold morning she'd awoken to find herself alone, the forest unnervingly silent. Yet each recollection was tinged with uncertainty. Faces she should remember blurred and shifted, places seemed familiar yet altered. Something about those memories felt wrong, as though the forest had rewritten them in its own hand. Mara pulled her pack from her shoulders, her fingers trembling slightly as she set up her tent beneath a cluster of ancient oaks. She worked mechanically, her mind half elsewhere. Caught in the tangle of thoughts and sensations, the forest stirred within her. The air grew cooler, and the shadows deepened. The canopy overhead filtered the last traces of sunlight into a lattice of green and gold. She retrieved a weathered journal from her pack, its leather cover cracked and softened from years of use. Opening it, Mara's eyes scanned the pages filled with sprawling, uneven handwriting notes, sketches, fragments of memories recorded after previous visits. Yet, as she read, the certainty she sought dissolved. The entries conflicted with what she felt now. Details that once seemed clear now felt alien. The journal was a lifeline, but even it faltered under the forest's subtle influence. Around her, the forest breathed and whispered. Leaves rustled without wind. A faint glow flickered between the branches' bioluminescent hints of life just beyond sight. A sudden rustling in the underbrush snapped Mara's attention outward. She froze, breath caught in her throat, eyes wide. The shadows shifted, coalescing into shapes that seemed almost human but made of leaves and bark. For a moment, she felt watched, as if the forest itself regarded her with a patient, hungry intelligence. Mara forced herself to breathe, steadying her racing heart. "It's just the forest," she whispered, voice barely audible. "It's always been here." But even as she spoke, a part of her knew that this time was different. The forest wasn't just a place to be hiked or explored. It remembered, it watched, it waited. And she was not the same Mara who had come here before. Night settled fully, the canopy above swallowing stars and moonlight alike. Mara lay on her sleeping mat, the sounds of the forest a constant murmur at the edge of sleep whispers, creaks, and the soft sigh of leaves. Her hands clutched the journal to her chest, a talisman against the creeping uncertainty. Outside, the trees shifted ever so slightly, their ancient roots entwining with memories older than time itself. The forest was alive, and it remembered her, but not the Mara she remembered. With that thought, sleep finally claimed her, pulling her into dreams where shadows danced and voices called her name, echoing through the whispering canopy. The forest had begun its work. Mara's boots pressed softly into the loamy earth as she stepped beyond the familiar fringe of the forest, her breath shallow but steady beneath the towering canopy. The air was thick with the scent of damp moss and decaying leaves, a rich, earthy perfume that seemed to cling to her skin. Sunlight filtered through the dense branches, casting shifting patterns of light and shadow that danced with an almost sentient grace. She paused, heart quickening, as a sudden rustle to her left made her spin, but there was only the endless green. Her gaze swept the undergrowth, searching for the source of the sound, but found nothing. Yet the feeling lingered that she was being watched, or perhaps remembered. A faint whisper brushed against her ears, impossibly soft and fleeting, like the sigh of wind weaving through leaves. Mara shook her head, trying to dispel the unease curling in her stomach. She had felt it before on previous visits, but now, with each step deeper into the forest, the sensation grew stronger, more insistent. Pressing onward, Mara's eyes caught a narrow trail veering off the main path, almost hidden beneath a blanket of fallen leaves. The faintest glimmer of familiarity tugged at her mind, a memory just beyond reach. She hesitated, then followed it, the crunch of dry leaves beneath her boots sounding unnaturally loud in the thick silence. The path wound tightly between ancient trees, their gnarled roots like twisted veins beneath the soil, and the air seemed to hum with a subtle vibration. As she walked, the forest began to play tricks on her mind. She paused beside a moss-covered boulder, the stone cool and rough beneath her fingertips. A scent smoke, faint and acrid, rose from the ground, and suddenly memories flooded her, fragmented and tangled. Campfires from long ago, their flames dancing under star-studded skies. Laughter shared with friends now distant and gone. Moments of warmth and safety, but beneath those comforting images lurked shadows, faces distorted, voices warped into eerie echoes. Mara clenched her jaw, forcing herself to focus. The memories felt wrong, twisted, as if the forest had reshaped them into something unrecognizable. She pulled her journal from her backpack, fingers trembling as she opened it to a blank page. The pen hovered, then set to paper, scrawling hurried notes and sketches of the path, the trees, the strange sensations that clung to her like a second skin. A sudden movement caught her eye, a flash of something familiar slipping behind a tree. Mara's heart skipped. She turned, searching the shadows, and for a moment, she thought she saw a figure, a woman with dark hair, her features blurred and shifting like smoke. The image dissolved when Mara blinked, leaving the forest utterly silent once more. Breathing heavily, Mara pressed on, the trail twisting and folding back on itself in ways that made her head spin. She came upon a fork, two paths diverging beneath intertwined branches. Both seemed eerily familiar, yet the markings carved into the bark, the tiny, deliberate notches she had made on previous journeys, were altered. New symbols, indecipherable and jagged, had been etched in their place. The forest whispered again, a susurrus of voices threading through the leaves, carrying fragments of half-remembered conversations. Mara's hands shook as she clutched her journal, trying desperately to write down what she saw and heard before it slipped away. The forest was alive, not just with flora and fauna, but with a consciousness older than time itself, and it was reshaping her memories, twisting them until she could no longer trust her own mind. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows that stretched and warped. Mara's footsteps slowed. Every rustle, every flicker of movement seemed charged with meaning, an invitation or a warning she could not decipher. The line between past and present blurred, and the woman she thought she saw earlier haunted her thoughts, a ghostly echo of a memory that might not even belong to her. Her journal was her only anchor as she scribbled frantic notes, desperate to capture the shifting reality. Yet the more she tried to hold onto her identity, the more the forest seemed to pull it away, thread by fragile thread. The whispering canopy above thickened, voices rising in a chorus of fragmented echoes, and Mara felt the creeping dread settle in her bones. She was no longer certain where her memories ended and the forest's illusions began. The echoes among the leaves were not just sounds, they were the voices of the forest itself, rewriting her story with every breath she took beneath its watchful boughs. As twilight swallowed the day, Mara stood still, heart pounding, caught in the endless dance of memory and forgetting. Somewhere deep within the green labyrinth, the forest remembered Herb, but never the same version twice. And Mara was beginning to realize she might never find her way back to who she truly was. The forest waited, patient and unyielding, its hunger for memory growing with each passing moment. A sudden crack of a twig behind her made Mara whirl, breath hitching, but nothing was there, just the endless, shifting shadows. She shivered, clutching her journal tight. The forest was watching and remembering, and Mara was trapped in its echoing embrace. She took a hesitant step forward, the path before her darkening, uncertain. What awaited her deeper in the woods was a secret only the trees could tell. But would she still be herself when she uncovered it? The question hung in the air, heavy and unresolved, as Mara pressed onward, deeper into the forest's tangled, whispering heart. Mara's boots crunched softly on the scattered leaves as she pushed deeper into the forest's heart, the air thickening with a damp, earthy scent that clung to her skin. The canopy above filtered the fading afternoon light into mottled patterns, shadows crawling like restless creatures over mossy trunks. She paused beside a twisted oak, catching her breath, when a voice, rough and hesitant, broke the silence. Lost, or just wandering? She turned sharply, eyes narrowing to find a man seated on a fallen log, his gaunt frame hunched beneath a worn jacket. His eyes, pale and sharp, held a cautious wary that sent a ripple of unease through her. "I'm not sure anymore," Mara admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I keep thinking I remember this place, but the memories don't line up. It's like they're shifting." The man nodded slowly, as if confirming some silent truth. "You're not the first. I'm Elias." Mara, she extended a hand, which he shook with a dry, firm grip. Elias's gaze flickered around the surrounding trees, as if expecting them to listen. "This forest, it doesn't just watch, it remembers, but not like we do. It twists what it keeps, reshapes it, until the person who enters isn't the person who leaves or returns." Mara's heart quickened. "I've felt it. Like the memories I have aren't mine, nor they belong to someone else." Elias's face darkened. "I've been coming back for years. Each time, a little less of me stays intact. Friends, lost to these woods. They came back different or not at all." The weight of his words settled between them like the forest's thick moss. Mara swallowed hard, gripping her backpack strap tighter. "How do you keep from losing yourself?" He shrugged, eyes haunted. "I don't know if I have, but I keep moving, keep recording notes, pictures. It's all I have left. The forest feeds on memory, on who we are inside. It doesn't want our bodies, but our very selves." A sudden rustle nearby made both of them tense. Mara's glance caught a flicker in the shadows' twisting shapes that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. Leaves shimmered, forming vague outlines of faces and hands, then dissolved like mist. "It's watching," Elias whispered. always watching. They pressed forward together, a fragile alliance formed in the thickening gloom. Mara found herself hanging on Ilias's every word, each revelation chipping away at her confidence, yet igniting a fierce determination. If the forest wanted to steal her, she would fight to keep what little remained. Hours passed, the light fading to a muted twilight as they reached a clearing carpeted in soft moss and strewn with the remnants of old campsites. Mara's fingers brushed over a charred pot, and suddenly a flood of memories, some familiar, others alien, rushed through her mind. Faces she thought she knew warped and twisted in the shifting fog. Elias sighed heavily, pulling his jacket tighter. This place holds the echoes of those who came before. We're all fragments now, shadows clinging to the past. Mara's journal, usually a source of comfort, felt heavy in her pack. She pulled it out, flipping through pages filled with scrawled notes and sketches, seeking an anchor amid the chaos. Maybe together we can find a way out, she said, voice trembling but resolute. Elias looked at her, a flicker of hope in his eyes. Maybe, but the forest doesn't give up its secrets easily. As darkness settled, the forest around them seemed to sigh a breath of ancient wood and whispered memories. Mara shivered, the thin line between reality and illusion blurring. She clung to Ilias's presence, a fragile tether in a world where identity itself was a battleground. The night stretched on, filled with the soft rustling of leaves and the faintest murmur of voices just beyond hearing. Mara's thoughts spiraled, each memory a fragment slipping through her fingers like sand. But beneath the fear, a stubborn spark burned. She would not become another lost echo in the forest's endless memory. Yet as sleep claimed her beneath the whispering canopy, a shadow stirred, watching, waiting, remembering a version of Mara that no longer existed. The flickering glow of the campfire cast long, dancing shadows across the uneven ground. Mara sat curled close to the embers, clutching her journal like a lifeline, its pages filled with jagged scrawls and desperate attempts to anchor herself to something real. But tonight, the words seemed to slip away from her grasp, dissolving into the thick, damp air that smelled faintly of moss and decay. Her eyes fluttered shut, and instantly the forest reached inside her mind, unraveling threads of memory she had never consciously recalled. She saw a Faisa young girl with dark hair, laughter spilling like sunlight through the canopy. It was a sister, someone she had forgotten, or perhaps someone who had never existed in the way she remembered. The image twisted, the smile curdling into something hollow and cold. She heard a voice, soft and sorrowful, whispering from the rustling leaves. A voice that felt achingly familiar, yet impossible to place. Mara's breath hitched, and she opened her eyes, the firelight dancing wildly as if responding to her turmoil. She pressed her fingers to her temples, trying to quell the storm inside her head. But the forest was relentless. Each crackle of the fire seemed to echo with whispers, voices just beyond comprehension. Nearby, Elias sat, hunched over his own journal, his pale face drawn tight with exhaustion. His pen scratched nervously as he recorded the discrepancies he noticed in his memories. "Mara," he said quietly, glancing up, "it's worse than I thought. The forest isn't just messing with our minds, it's rewriting our pasts." Mara looked at him, her sharp eyes searching for certainty in his cautious, haunted gaze. "How do you know?" He swallowed hard. "Because things I swore were real people I loved. Places I visited, they're becoming different. Sometimes I don't remember them at all. Or worse, I remember them wrong." A shiver ran down Mara's spine. But if the forest can change what we remember, then who am I really? The answer came in the form of a cold breeze that swept through the trees, carrying a faint rustling sound. Shadows flickered at the edge of her vision, figures woven from leaves and branches, drifting silently between the trunks. Their hollow eyes gleamed faintly in the bioluminescent glow that now bathed the forest floor. Mara's heart pounded. She turned slowly, trying to catch a better glimpse. The figures didn't move like animals or humans, but floated with unnatural grace, their forms constantly shifting, like smoke caught in a breeze. One reached toward her, a hand of twisting vines and fluttering leaves, and she felt the sensation of cold fingers brushing the edges of her mind. "They're watching," Elias whispered, voice trembling. "They are the echoes of those who came before us, the ones the forest has claimed." Mara swallowed the lump in her throat. The spectral figures seemed to pulse with the memories they had taken, a haunting testament to the forest's hunger. She shivered, the oppressive weight of their gaze pressing down on her. Later, as the night deepened and the fire dwindled to glowing embers, Mara was pulled into another flashback. This time, it was a moment she had once cherished, a laugh shared with a close friend beneath a sky streaked with stars. But as the memory unfolded, the scene warped grotesquely. The friend's face blurred into a mask of shadow, their smile twisted into a sneer. Words she had never heard before echoed in the air, threatening, mocking. Mara gasped, clutching her chest. The forest's whispers grew louder, a chorus of voices that seemed to mock her pain and confusion. "Forget," they urged, "become ours." Tears pricked her eyes, the heartbreak of loss and the terror of erasure crashing together in a wave of despair. She pressed her palms to the earth, grounding herself against the onslaught, but the forest was patient, inexorable. Elias reached out, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. "We have to keep fighting," he said firmly, though his own eyes betrayed his waning hope. "If we lose ourselves here, we're done." Mara nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. The forest was no longer just a place of trees and shadows. It was a living nightmare, feeding on memories, twisting identities, until nothing remained but fragmented echoes. And she was caught in its relentless grasp. The night stretched on, the whispers never ceasing, promising a future where self would dissolve into the endless memory of the forest. Mara's journal lay open, pages fluttering in the cold breeze, a fragile testament to a self slipping quietly away. But somewhere deep inside, a spark of defiance still burned. She would hold on, no matter the cost. Because if she lost herself here, what would be left to return? And as the first pale light of dawn filtered through the canopy, Mara steeled herself against the shadows of the past, the uncertain path ahead. The forest waited, patient and hungry, as always. The forest was older than time itself, so the locals claimed. Mara had heard the stories, whispered around campfires and passed down through generations. But no tale had prepared her for Lena's arrival. It began near the oldest grove, where the trees grew so thick and ancient their bark seemed to pulse faintly with life. Mara was retracing her steps from a few hours earlier, trying to tether herself to something solid amid the growing haze of uncertainty clouding her mind. Her journal lay open on a mossy log, the ink smeared slightly from the damp air, the words barely making sense to her anymore. Then she saw a figure, pale and almost translucent against the deep greens and browns of the forest. Lena stood motionless, her long hair cascading like a silver waterfall, catching flecks of sunlight that slipped through the canopy. Her eyes, those eyes held the forest itself, dark and endless, reflecting secrets Mara couldn't begin to grasp. "You hear the forest's song, don't you?" Lena's voice was light, almost a whisper, yet it resonated within Mara's chest. The sound mingled with the rustling leaves, as if the trees themselves were murmuring alongside her. Mara stepped closer, heart pounding. "Who are you? What do you want?" Lena's lips curved in a faint, enigmatic smile. "I am the question asked by the wind, the shadow in your mind, the memory you cannot hold." A chill traced Mara's spine, but she was drawn in, compelled by the mystery. "Why do you speak in riddles?" "Because the forest remembers," Lena replied softly, "but it never tells the whole truth." From behind a thicket, Elias's voice interrupted, low and urgent. "Mara, be careful. Lena isn't like us. She's different." Mara turned to see Elias approaching, his face pale, eyes sharp with warning. "I've seen her before, or something like her. She's not just a person, she's part of the forest's memory, or a trap within it. A trap." Mara's voice wavered, the fragile threads holding her reality together beginning to unravel. "Yes," Elias said grimly. "She blurs the line between what's real and what's not. People who get too close lose themselves." Mara looked back at Lena, who now seemed to shimmer, her form wavering like a mirage. "Why do you come to me?" Mara demanded. "Because you remember too much," Lena said. "And yet, not enough." The forest around them seemed to lean in, the leaves whispering secrets too old to understand. Mara's breath caught as she felt the forest's pulse beneath her feet, alive and watching. Elias grabbed her arm, grounding her. "Don't trust her." Lena's eyes locked with Mara's one last time, a silent promise and a warning entwined. Then she vanished into the shadows, leaving only the soft rustle of leaves and the haunting echo of her words behind. Mara's journal slipped from her hands, pages fluttering like restless wings. Her mind swirled with questions and fears she couldn't yet voice. The forest was no longer just trees and shadows, it was a living enigma, and Lena was its whispered secret. That night, as the bioluminescent glow bathed the canopy in an eerie light, Mara lay awake, the image of Lena etched into her thoughts. Was she a guide, a guardian, or a herald of something far darker? And as the forest breathed around her, Mara knew that the true horror lay not in what she could see, but in what she was beginning to forget and what the forest was beginning to remember. The line between self and shadow, memory and myth, was dissolving, and Mara was at the center of it all, caught in the forest's endless, haunting embrace. As the wind whispered through the leaves, carrying Lena's riddles deeper into the night, Mara clung to the fragile hope that she might yet reclaim her identity before it was consumed entirely. But the forest waits, patient and eternal, for the next soul to wander beneath its whispering canopy.